Welcome to this week's episode of Ladies, Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Dr. Denise Jagru. I'm a board-certified clinical specialist in women's health physical therapy. Today, we are talking about the importance of adult female friendships. And why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because of the impact it has on the emotional health and the mental health of women, and for the good or for the bad. And there's so many complex layers of this. And to talk about this with me today is my dear friend, Tina DeLaBastide. She is an occupational therapist, and we work together in a particular hospital in Manhattan. And we've been friends for many years and colleagues for many years. And thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, it was interesting because I was watching a podcast a couple days ago by Mel Robbins, and she was talking about adult female friendships, and she had an author on, and the author's name was Danielle Bayard Jackson, and her book was called Fighting for Friendship. It's a very long title, The Science and Art of Conflict and Connection in Women's Relationships. And she just had so many great talking points that I want to go over with you. So one of the things she was talking about is the difference between male friendships and female friendships, but between males and females and females, not male and female friendships. So some of the things that I thought were so interesting and I wanted to go over with you, Tina, is that women we can have like large friend groups, but then we tend to like couple off. And then we like to have like one-to-one conversations that are very in depth, right? Very like about physical health and mental health. Whereas men tend to hang out in larger groups. And because it's more casual, there's a little more anonymity. And also there's less at stake, right? There's less risk for fallouts and for having like lots of drama in friendships if they're just more casual. And she says that, women will see like their friends as like sisters, right? But like men will see their friends more as like cousins, right? And so again, there's just less at stake with that. And, women talk more about like deep personal issues, but men talk more about current events and sports. Right?
Sounds about right.
Right. So what are your thoughts about that? I feel like we have a girlfriend group, but, there's still like, we'll have dinners together or just like, drinks with one-on-one where we talk about like more in-depth things.
I feel like there's nothing better and more relaxing than having a glass of wine with one girlfriend, just being able to talk back and forth. And I think it has a lot to do with that mental load capacity because women take on so much mental load these days, which, is not just about what it is, it's about how to get there, right? And so being able to kind of connect with someone on that level that already understands what that is one of the most relaxing things ever.
And there's a science behind that. There's a science to connection, and that there's an increase in serotonin and oxytocin and there's a stress reducing effect when you're talking literally to like a girlfriend who is just listening to your venting, right? And not trying to fix everything or solve it, just listening and just being there for you. There's literally physical and mental benefits to that. And, this book is saying basically like there's more of that between like female friendship. And I'm not saying men are not capable of, in-depth conversations. This is not like a man-hating podcast. I prove me wrong, man. Like, drop a comment, share a story about like you and a best friend being like, brothers. And I don't want to feel like you're not capable of that. I'm just referencing the book, and we were just like talking about these points. But, it's interesting to see the differences between how women communicate with each other and interact and how men, studies say how men interact with each other. But I also,
Personally, I've never had to say to one of my female friends, like, can you just listen to this?
Right.
Whereas we're males that I've interacted with or had relationships with this, it's like, no, I'm not looking for you to fix this. I just want you to listen.
Right.
And there's differences there. There's definitely gender differences there. But I think it's so important to maintain those types of friendships, and it's also difficult.
Mhm.
It's, with women taking on more roles and,
Mhm.
with more working and having two income households and everything, it's difficult. Sometimes you have to like schedule time in.
Oh, easily, yeah.
But I think it's super important.
Mhm.
It really is.
There's this funny commercial I just thought about where I can't remember what it was for, but it was like this woman had like a nail. You remember that? Like she had a nail sticking out of her forehead, and she's just like telling her partner, she's like, I just feel like there's just something like, just something like in my head that just feels like it's like pinching. And he's like, there's a nail in your forehead. And she's like, you're not listening to me. Like, just listen to what I'm talking about, my feelings. I feel like stress about this, like kind of pinching, this like stabbing pain I'm having right here. And he's like, but there's a nail in your forehead. And it was just kind of the difference. Like women want you to like listen, and men want to just fix the problem and like solve it. And sometimes women just need you to listen.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like fix it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also I can think of, most recently, some of the best times I've had with my girlfriends versus, any boyfriends or exes or whatever. And the running joke with some of my friends is, you will never meet a man that's better than me. I've taken you to Hawaii. Yeah. You're never going to, have it better than that. And it's true.
Yeah. You sent me a podcast. I cannot remember the name of the man. It was Scott something. And he talked about like studies show that women thrive when they are single and men like turn to substance abuse. Single. And I'm not saying every man, but it was just these studies that show like the single women in their 20s and 30s, like they're okay, in their 40s, they're okay. Like, don't worry about them. But like the single man, like in his like post-divorce, or like if they haven't found another relationship, or if they're not in a relationship, they're more susceptible to like harmful behavior and like just not looking towards productive ways and constructive ways to like channel their energy. And I thought that was really interesting. And I can't remember the podcaster's name, but it was like he was basing it on like studies. It wasn't like he's just saying that, but it was interesting. I thought that was interesting. And so also going back to the book, she talks about like the 3 affinities of female friendships. So she says 3 S's. One is symmetry, which is like sameness, which I totally agree. Like we are very lucky in our department that we have like some of my best friends, my life friends we found in this department because we just happen to all be like the same age. And kind of the same background, and like we get along really well, and we are very lucky. And so I think like thank goodness we all found each other, and we've been friends for years and years, and we've gone through life changes. Some have gotten married, some have had children, and we're still friends, which I think is like a big thing because sameness. Like I had a friend who we were both like single women dating in New York City. And like, we always would kind of bond over like bad dating stories. And then once I turned 40 and I was like, well, I want to be a mom and I'm going to move forward with being a mom, whether I find somebody or not. She did not like that, and because I was in a different boat, I was putting myself in a different boat. I was exiting her boat and I was getting another boat, and she did not like that. And it became like we were not the same. Right. And so, and I get that. And, I'm so grateful that our friendship and our like, as much as our friends have evolved, we've stayed, friends. The second one is, and the second one is support. Obviously, we seek out emotional support with our friends. And the third one I thought was interesting. She called it secrecy, but not secrets in the sense of like, tell me a secret about yourself, but like information is currency. So if you are like, the more you know about a person, and not necessarily like a dark secret, but like the more you know about the person, the more you feel that you're closer and the deeper your, friendship is. And how that is like a measure, like, that the amount of information is like a measure of like the level of friendship you have. So I thought that was another interesting thing.
I kind of like that because it makes sense, right? The more you kind of have information and can share with someone too, right? Because if like you said, if you're in different boats, then that might not be something that you want to continue, or you can continue, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But it is nice to have people that are in your boat.
Yeah. And if they're okay with you, going to another boat and still being in the same body of water.
Even better.
And And it was a whole conversation she had about like if friendship fails, right? The women, like, we take it so hard on ourselves because we see it as like we're a failure because like we couldn't maintain the friendship. And what does friendship mean as a reflection of us, right? Like if you have like a bestie, it's like, oh, I'm important because somebody considers me, you know, their bestie. Like I have a bestie. So like that puts more value on me as a person.
Yeah.
And how much like friendships are a reflection of like how we think of ourselves and how we reflect out to society. And it's like the idea of if a friendship fails, like, does that mean I'm not interesting? Like, am I not like a cool person or something, you know? And and the difference between like men and women, and like men maybe not would take it so hard, but like women take it a little more on themselves, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely times that I can think of where I'm just like, did I do something wrong?
Right. And like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, what's wrong with me? Yeah. And I think in general, that's going to happen because life happens. And you know, people, everything's so dynamic, right? And you kind of have to learn to go with the flow. I have had high school friends that have now become acquaintances because we, you know, don't talk all that often. We're in different life, you know, stages, that type stuff, even though we're the same age. And sometimes I go back to that place like, oh, maybe I should have reached out. Maybe I should have done that. But then again, I'm like, you know what? We're in two different spots. You know, it probably won't work. So that's tough.
And there's different perspectives because we have a mutual friend, and I won't say her name, but she is very, like, I think an amazing quality about her is she always likes to like fix and like maintain friendships. And this is something from when she was growing up, and her father would say if people were fighting on the block or like in the family, like he would sit them down and say like, work it out. So she grew up with that. Like you work on things, you know, and she is, amazing for that. And I'm the complete opposite. I walk away. And this took me a long time because I spent years trying to fix things. And then I started to just see life as a book, right? And then each person is a character in the book. There are chapters to this book, and it is okay to close a chapter because everyone plays the part in your story that they're supposed to. And I mean, I'm not saying this is right for everybody, but I just feel like if you say thank you to that chapter and to those characters, and like, thank you for, you know, being with me on this path and teaching me what you did and learning from me. And then you, with gratitude, close that chapter and just like appreciate the meaning that had on your life, but you move on to another chapter. Like that is okay, you know? And it took me a long time because now I will walk away from something that doesn't serve me. And that took me a long time to do that and not see it as weakness, but see it as strength.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely. And also speaking to that, you know how they talk about love languages in relationships? There's definitely love languages in just friendships.
Yes. That is such a good point.
You know, it's sometimes that they don't really coincide and you do have to walk away. And I think that's okay. I think we can take that on. And it's great that, you know, we have it. And I think one of the aspects that I have issues with is going out and seeking female friends, being an adult. That's like, you know, it's not as easy as I love your hair. It's not.
It's hard. It's intimidating. It's, you know, you have, like I said, we were lucky that we work in an environment where we just kind of got put together and, you know, we happen to all really like each other, which is, but it is really hard. And one thing I wanted to try to recommend was like, you know, I don't know, websites like meetups, like people could go to meetup.com and you know, common interest groups that people can go to meet people. But it's hard. It's hard.
And a lot of those, like paint and sips and like all these like different types of activities to do now encourage you to come and be like, hey, this is for women, you know, ages whatever, and it's just a group of women that might be, you know, looking for some friendship and stuff. So I think that's cool, kind of opening those up.
That's really nice. What do you think about the idea of like quality over quantity, which is so interesting because before I used to like just kind of cast a wide net and just like think, oh, if I have a large network, you know, I can call on this person for that, for the dinner for this or drinks for that. And, you know, my circle got a lot smaller when I started just like cutting people out. But this idea of like that you need a bestie, right? Like does that feel like, you know, because in the book she was talking about like maybe you get more from a collective if you can't find like that one person to fill all those needs. Maybe you have a bigger network to like pull on to fill like different needs that you have.
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of in the middle with all of that. I guess I've always, you know, Mel Robbins was talking about like she's always been on the hunt for like a bestie, but she always has had her needs met with like different friends and different friend groups, which I think is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's great to have that one person that knows where the bodies are hidden. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
no bodies. Just kidding. No bodies. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely I don't know if it's a quality over quantity or if it's just different qualities that you're seeking, you know?
I like that.
And we have mutual friends in common. And you know, the one friend, if I'm looking to go out and have a great time and, you know, have an all-nighter, I know who to go to, you know? And then as opposed to like, if I want to go to a movie or sit home and do something, you know, casual.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there's definitely those. So I'm not sure if it's quality versus quantity or just different qualities.
Because there's just different levels of like friendships. You, like you said, you know who to go to for a hard night, you know who to go to for just like chill night, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. When I was with, just a funny story. When I was with my ex and he was like, oh, you're going out with the girls. And I said, yeah. And he's like, who are you going out with? And I was like, well, I might end up in jail. And he immediately knew who my friend group was. And then he would say the same thing. And I'm like, oh, we're going to go rescue, you know, dogs or something. He immediately knew it was the other friend group that I had. So you have those different areas.
That's brilliant. That's so brilliant. Yeah. How do you feel about like the idea that we are all so connected on social media and you know, just internet in general, but like so isolated still, right? I mean, there's just still this epidemic of loneliness, right? But like we're connected. I mean, you and I are connected on like, you know, Instagram and TikTok and like all the platforms, but like I can not see you and we work in the same hospital, but I can go like weeks without like actually seeing you or like hanging out. Like there's this, you know,
we work on the same floor,
literally the same floor,
and we cannot see each other for a week or two at least. Yeah.
And so to be so connected and yet like disconnected, you know, and people really suffering from loneliness, you know, these days.
I think social media and everything, it's good for like this basic connection. And like the way I use it sometimes is if I see something and I'm like, oh, Denise would be interested in this, or I think Denise would like this, like I'll send it to you. But I also don't think it's a substitute for actual face-to-face, you know, kind of interaction.
Yeah. I mean, I like FaceTimes, but I feel like I like in person. And like we're older, you know, we're part of the older generation where I just feel like we didn't grow up with social media and phones in our hands. So like we still appreciate that, you know, where like being in person and like you do very often come over to my side of the hospital and like, you know, just to visit and just to give a hug. And like that is, you know, just so appreciated.
Yeah.
What would you say that women should do to like, even if they have like long distance friendships or, you know, if they have friends going through different phases of life, like how can they stay connected, even if like life is, you know, kind of pulling them apart but they're still like emotionally connected?
I think I was reading about connection in general, right? And I think the important thing is being empathetic to people, because depending on what's happening, and the example that was given in the article or the paper was, you know, I had a friend and their parent died and they were just so drowning, you know, and they weren't coming out. And she said that she just called every day and said, you don't have to talk. I just want to let you know I'm here if you want to talk. That's it. and then hung up.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
she did that every day for weeks
Mhm.
until that friend was like, okay, I think I'm ready to talk. And I think
Mhm.
that's important because people need to feel seen at some point.
Mhm.
And you have to take on what you can take on emotionally. And if you can't, you may not be able to call every day. That may
Mhm.
not be within your emotional capacity. But I do think you have to try,
Mhm.
and I think some of
Effort.
that,
Mhm.
has
Mhm.
gotten lost a little bit
Mhm.
with the social media
Yeah,
type
yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. I think like it's important to make like dates, and like when people say to me, "Oh, let's get together," I always take out my calendar. I'm like, "Okay, when?" And no one expects that. I'm like, "No, like if you're gonna say this,
yes.
like
Yeah.
I like if I say something, I'm going to put it on a calendar.
Mhm.
Like I never just like out of whimsy be like, "Oh, we should see each other." Like if you want to see me, let's put it on a calendar.
Yeah.
So I always think like making solid dates and like regular dates is really,
Mhm.
really important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Date
Was
night with your girlfriends. Ooh.
the
Mhm.
best. Did you have something that you were going
Oh,
to?
yes. Okay. So, since we do work together and you know that I am huge into morale, right? Like huge into just making sure that everybody sees seen and is happy. And since we're doing friendships, you're going to pick a card and you have to answer the question.
I'm scared. I'm
Mhm.
scared.
Be scared.
What does it have to do with getting arrested? If I got arrested, what is the first thing that would come to your mind, like that you did?
Mhm. If I
Grand
got
theft,
arrested.
like you stole something. You took something that wasn't yours. I don't know why.
Do you want to know what?
There's like a couple things that come to mind. You broke in somewhere. No, I'm gonna say with
It
theft.
was theft. Okay. I have the same answer for you, except it specifically involves
Chocolate.
Reese's peanut butter cups. Specifically. There was some kind of golden Reese's peanut butter cup and you stole it.
I'm immensely addicted to Reese's peanut butter cups, and I would probably go to jail for stealing one. I love Reese's,
All
but
right.
yes, thanks.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. What reality show would I sign you up for?
I mean, I know what I would love Amazing Race because I love traveling.
I was gonna say Amazing Race because I do know that you love to travel and you've
Yes.
been everywhere or something like that. Yeah,
Oh,
I definitely would have said that.
thanks.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. What would you do?
Probably some baking show.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Tina's a master baker. Master baker. What emoji describes our friendship?
Aw.
I think the one like this. Like the huggy one.
You're so sweet to me. So I was gonna say the one with the dizzy eyes
Oh,
because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
constantly just
Yeah.
in a craziness where we are. Okay, I'm ready for the last one. If we had a TV show, what genre would it be?
Oh, it would be like Friends. It would be like there was a show in I guess it was the 90s, maybe early 2000s called Living Single, and it was like all these girls like just living like going out and like hang out. I think that would be fun.
Okay.
What would you say?
I would definitely say it would be a sitcom.
Oh yeah.
It would be complete.
I mean, it was a sitcom.
It was a sitcom. Okay.
Yeah. And it would just be ridiculous because we live ridiculous work lives together.
Yes, we do.
And we keep each other going because work is rough.
Yes.
Yes. Those are great questions. I was not expecting this. She did not tell me she was going to do that. So,
And can you imagine having, sitting down on a couch, maybe have something in the background going on and just exchanging questions? I got these online. I think the art of the board game has been lost and I think we need to bring it back.
I love it. I love it. And you're so creative. You always have like whenever we have like department happy hours, you're always bringing games and fun to everything. You're amazing.
Oh,
you are
thank
amazing.
you.
But thank you so much for being here today and discussing this. I loved this topic because we were brainstorming. Well, you were brainstorming about what we could talk about. You came up with this topic and I loved it because it's so different. And it's important. We can talk about like physical symptoms and stuff all day, but like this is so important to talk about friendships and the importance of it because we all experience this and we go through friendships and we meet great friendships throughout life. And I so appreciate you. I love you.
Love you too.
And thank you. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
So that's it for today, but stay tuned next week for another episode of Ladies, Let's Talk About It.